What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of That's Bingo Sports Podcast. I'm here with my co-hosts Kyle Eggers and Jacob Beach. I am Joe Hendry. Thanks for being here. Boys, how are we doing today?
Beach?
I'm doing well. Diamondbacks play a big playoff game today against the Dodgers. Looking forward to that.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, doing well.
Thank you. Kyle, how about yourself?
Been better. The Rams hurt me. Arizona football hurt me. But we will overcome.
Yes, we will. It was an exciting week for the fellas for sure. Some ups, some downs. Kyle, I know Cooper Kupp, he came back. Beach got to watch some Phoenix Suns basketball.
Yes, we did.
Preseason, baby.
I have a 27-point lead over Beach in our fantasy league right now.
Don't need to talk
thanks
about
to Breece Hall's over 100-yard game against the Broncos. 177 yards, in fact. So the boys are buzzing right now. Super hyped on that. Guys, last night I was looking at some Dak stats just while I was bored. And I wanted to say something. Pro Football Reference lists Dak's nickname as the Fortress.
What?
His nickname is the Fortress. Nobody has ever called him that. That is the same thing as Kyle the Tank Eggers. So that gives us the same vein of nickname. It's
real.
Not a real thing.
People call me that all the time.
No, nobody calls you that. Nobody calls you that.
It's fine.
Anyway, his nickname was the Fortress. He's I don't know where that came from. He's for sure not a fortress at all.
Maybe it's like the 4 FOUR because he throws 4 picks per game.
Maybe.
And he's number 4.
Ooh.
Look at that. Well, maybe we have something real, but I don't think it's real.
It's the 4 picks.
Yeah. That was an observation that I wanted to make. Anyway, we got a great show ahead for y'all. We're going to talk about some MLB playoffs, some interesting Week 5 storylines. We have some crazy stats for you, some overreactions as well. I might try to start some beef with Kyle as well. So who knows?
Let's go.
But before we dive in, I want to get this out of the way early. Beach, U of A, USC. You almost called the upset, man. Did not happen, obviously, with USC taking the game 43-41. You've had some time to process now, but talk to us. What's going through your head? What happened?
So after a few days, still super proud of the effort that we put through in LA. Obviously, I'm at the point now where moral victories they're still nice. Like, it's still nice to go play a top 10 team on the road and compete that way and take them to triple overtime. But I'm at the point where I want wins. This is year 3 of Jed Fish. I think we need to start getting some wins, and we should have won that game in LA. I think we outplayed USC, and truthfully, if it wasn't for Caleb Williams being just a stud, I think we would have won that game handily, but Caleb Williams is just that dude. Overall, I feel really good about the direction the team's headed. They've looked very good in these last 2 games against 2 top 10 teams. My only thing that I'm concerned about now is whether or not Jed Fish has the balls to keep starting Noah Fifita over Jaden DeLaura. If he does that, I think we're in good shape because Noah deserves it. I mean, he's played really well against the 2 toughest teams they're going to play all year. I mean, I think he had 5 touchdowns in that game against USC, made countless big plays. I think he's ready to take this team and he's ready to lead them. There's just a lot of question marks with Jaden DeLaura, and I think not only is the team ready for a new start, but I think the fan base is as well. So if Jed Fish has the balls to make that move, I think the rest of the season will be really exciting for us.
Yeah.
Can I be
pessimistic? I was really impressed with go for it.
Yes. Beach, I agree. That game was awesome to watch. I think that what is a little bit deceiving is yes, USC's the 9th best. Are they ranked 9th right now? I don't remember what they are. But
yeah, I think they're 10. They dropped to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they're top 10 school in the nation, but that's maybe 10% because of their defense. Their defense is not good. And I feel like that's been established. I do think that we got a guy in Noah Fifita. He played very well, but to that point, I think that USC's defense is very mid, super middle of the pack. But it was super encouraging. I felt like we had some dogs in Um, Jonah Coleman was just pounding the rock the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
O-line played pretty well, honestly, and I feel like the play calling was pretty decent. But looking back on it from an unbiased perspective, I'm like USC's defense isn't that good. But I was super impressed. I'm with Beach. It was hyped. He's like Noah Fafita's a freshman. Like we have some freshman wideouts that I think could be solid for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think my biggest thing is obviously the offense. USC's defense, like I said in our last podcast, they're not great, and I knew that. That's why I felt we could upset them.
Yeah.
But we just went out and held the Heisman Trophy winner in their offense to 28 points, like
Yep.
in the regulation. We held them to basically just over half their season average. They're averaging 53 points going into that game. They're averaging over 500 yards. And we held them to 28 points at the end of regulation. And I think they only ended up with like 365 yards. So that's basically half their numbers, which I think that's the exciting part is our defense has taken a lot of strides. I said at the beginning of the year, if we were just average, that we could have a really good team. And they're showing that they're more than average. They're a good defense. So that's been the most exciting part for me.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, I was super impressed with Coleman. That dude was running hard. He was a beast, man. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah, I mean it's funny we're missing our starting backfield in Delora and Wiley, and you really wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
If that was just your first time watching the University of Arizona play a football game, you wouldn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
That's how good those guys have been playing.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting to see because like I've been like Beach, like I've been a I wouldn't say Delora truther, but I've been one of those guys who's like, you know what, like I think Delora is very talented.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be bad games that come with the good games, right?
Yeah.
But something I've seen with Fafita is like he's able to accomplish, I think, the height that Delora is able to get without really giving you, those bad decisions, those 3 interception games. I think he made a really good decisions this game. Stepped up in the pocket, got hit a few times, and still delivered some really good balls. So, it'll be. I think Fish has a really interesting decision on his hand. I mean, you guys still have some tough games coming up, right? You got to play Utah. And who else?
Our next one's at Washington State, which is a place
Right.
we've never played well at.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be cold. It'll probably be unfavorable weather like it usually is at this time of year. And they've been playing really good ball too. So that'll be a tough game. And then obviously you come back, you still have Oregon State, UCLA, Utah, Colorado, ASU. I mean, you've got some tough teams on that schedule still. But the way I'm looking at it now is a lot of those tough games are at home now. And the way you've played against Washington and USC, who are the 2 best teams you're going to play, the sky's the limit. I mean, we can beat any team left on our schedule, and we can also lose to any team left on our schedule. And that's kind of the beauty of college football, because I think it's like that for a lot of other teams as well. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this team can go, and then hopefully we can keep building and get to a bowl game.
Yeah.
I think McMillan. Dude,
McMillan is awesome. Sick. He's going to the league for sure.
I think,
and he's going to do well.
It's crazy because Arizona football, I mean, the last 10 years has had like hardly any draft picks. And I think they legitimately have 4 NFL players on their offense right now.
Yeah.
Jordan Morgan and Jonas Avenea on the O-line. I mean, those are 2 potential first-round picks on the O-line. I can't remember the last time we had a draft pick on the O-line, let alone a first-round pick. So those 2 guys are playing like studs. And then obviously you have McMillan and Cowing on the outside. Both of them are just really good receivers that I think have a future in the NFL.
Yeah.
Dude, I
remember when you told me that you flipped McMillan from Oregon. Just being how excited you were and watching it kind of come to fruition it's been super awesome to watch.
Yeah. Shout out Noah Fafita for that. He was the linchpin in that, getting him first. And then he got the rest of that recruiting class to really come together. Without him, we don't get McMillan.
Yeah. Dude, shout out Fafita. Feed Fafita. That's all I gotta say.
Let's go. Feed him.
All right. Well, we're gonna jump in here. First off, we got the MLB playoffs. Some interesting games that have been going on here. Exciting stuff. The Rangers are up 2-0 on the 101 win Orioles. I don't think the Orioles were ever built for October, man. It's just those starting pitching was not good. And if you can't get to that bullpen, it's just not gonna. It's useless, essentially. Their bullpen was what carried them, and their starters can't get them there right now. And the Rangers are looking really good. Obviously, Nathan Eovaldi's pitching well. Jordan Montgomery That team looks super solid, and looking forward to my prediction of them making the World Series come true. The Twins evened up the series at 1 against the Astros, 1 apiece. That one's interesting. I still think the Astros are the much better team, but they're able to steal one in Houston, so you never know what could happen going back to Minnesota. Phillies up 1-0 on the Braves. That is a matchup that has me nervous for Atlanta. Phillies pitching and offense is, their playoff experience. After Spencer Strider and Max Fried and the Braves pitching staff, it gets shallow there. I don't know if they have enough to beat the Phillies if this game goes 4 or 5 games. So a little nervous for them. And then the D-backs just throttling the Dodgers in LA in game 1, chasing Kershaw after 1 out, 6 runs. You love to see it. I think Beach, they got as good a shot as anyone right now in taking the Dodgers down. Last year it was the same thing with the Padres beating the Dodgers. They're taking 1 in LA is huge. They have never been a very good playoff performer. Their pitching is in shambles right now, man. I don't know where it's going to come from. You guys might be able to ride Gallen and Kelly all the way to the NLCS there.
That's the way it feels right now for sure. Merrill beating the Dodgers for the first time in his career obviously came on the back of a huge offensive night, but yeah, you've got Gallen going tonight, and the way he's looked, sky's the limit. It'll help, obviously, being able to throw Kelly again in Game 4 if it gets there, as well as Gallen in Game 5, so you kind of can backload the series with them. And obviously, we'll see what we get with Brandon Pfaadt in Game 3. He was kind of rough in Milwaukee, but he's also been a pitcher this year where he's had some really, really good outings where his stuff is just electric. So
yeah,
our pitching, if it can hold up, I'm really confident because, Kershaw, he looked washed out there. Let's be honest. He went out there and he was just throwing up some meatballs for the Diamondbacks just to crush. All the balls that were hit were hard hit. Exit velo is well over 100. None of the pitches he was throwing were competitive pitches. So it'll be interesting to see what the Dodgers do and how they play tonight. If the Diamondbacks win tonight, though, I'm almost ready to call it a series.
Yeah. No, you always want to be careful with the Dodgers. They're a good team, but they're choking again, man. That's what you love to see.
Beach, I am once again back asking if you can explain the series to me in NBA terms. Can you give me 2 teams comparisons here?
Oh, this is going to be such a bingo.
Oh, no.
This Diamondbacks team, and I've seen this on Arizona sports Twitter a lot. This feels a lot like the 2021 Suns. It's a young team that has come into the playoffs with a lot of guys that have had no playoff experience. You were hopeful with how they would perform in the playoffs. We thought they would play well, but you weren't certain how they would look. And they've come out and they've dominated. Corbin Carroll's been a stud, and I thought he would be, but you hadn't seen it in the playoffs, right? Same thing that's how it felt with Devin Booker in 2021. Like, man, this guy's been balling for all these years, but we haven't seen it in the playoffs. How's he going to look? And then lo and behold, they go into LA, and they knock the Lakers out in 6. Devin has 47 in Game 6 of that game. And that kind of springboarded them to making the finals. And that's kind of how this Diamondbacks team feels right now. Like, they're going up against the old guard with the Dodgers, right? You've got Kershaw, they've got Betts, they have JD Martinez, like they've got Freddie Freeman, they've got all these big name players. But this is a young team that feels overlooked. They said yesterday they feel like they have a chip on their shoulder, that nobody, cares that they're there and that they just want the Dodgers to move on, and they're playing like it. And I think a lot of those similarities were with the Suns in 2021, where it was just this young team that was ready to go. And they're playing really well. So that's kind of the first comparison that I would give. And obviously I know it connects right back to Arizona sports, but yeah, that's my NBA comparison right now.
I wish I could be mad at you, but I asked for that.
Yeah,
you did ask for that.
It's a great bingo. That's awesome. I think some of these games though brings interesting conversation that's kind of been going on around baseball right now. The idea that right with the Orioles down, Minnesota playing well, the Dodgers down right now, the Braves down, even what happened last year with the Dodgers and Braves. It's this conversation that higher seeds are getting too much time off after the playoffs, saying that they're not able to stay in stride, things like that. And there's a lot of opinions out there on whether that's true or not. I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts. Is the new playoff format for the past couple of years, is that a detriment to these higher seeds? What are your guys' thoughts there?
I don't think it is, in my opinion. I think it's one of those things that, does it hurt to not play? Yes. But there's teams that have had that time off and then they've gone on and they've done just fine. I think it truly might just be a case-by-case basis and then a matchup thing as well. Like, there's just some teams that match up better with others, and so I don't think it's one thing that you can sit here and say, oh, it's a disadvantage to not play. Kind of like we were talking about yesterday, Joe, like, you always are going to take that rest for your starters and for your players because, by the end of the year, you've played 162 games. Guys are banged up. Guys need some time off. So I don't think that's necessarily the issue. I think it just sometimes, when you get to this point, all these teams are good. They all have talent that can beat you on any given night, especially in a game like baseball where, the worst team is still winning, 60, 70 games. I think that's just it. You're running into good teams, and it's more of a matchup thing, not necessarily just a rest thing.
Yeah. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Beach. I think he put it very nicely, but I just think that this is like the softest thing ever. I think this is literally like the softest thing ever. I cannot imagine complaining about getting more rest and being like, that's why we lost. Guys, that's why we lost. It's like, dude, like, that is not why you lost. You have home field advantage and you're getting more rest and you're crying about it. This is why I hate baseball. So that's my 2 cents. I don't hate baseball, but I just think that this is just like another thing that people are going to look at as a variable when I don't really think that it is. Like, how is more rest going to hurt you? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not like they're taking 3 weeks off. You know what I mean? They're taking a few more days at most.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
I think you guys hit on the nail. I mean, like, the Astros won the World Series last year. They got the 1 seed. It's one of those things like it's far from impossible to do it. I do think there's an aspect of an underdog coming in, and the playoffs are a different game for sure. It's just the way that it's done, and the underdog can come in sometimes and really lean on their superstars and like you said, play with a chip on their shoulder, kind of what Arizona's doing right now. I think that is a big aspect. But then, I think the idea of resting your starters, that there's nothing better than that, especially if you have 2 to 3 really solid starters, which is really all you need for the playoffs. Get them all ready and line them all up. There's a lot of these teams in the wild cards have to pitch their 2 best starters. That wasn't the case for the D-backs. A lot of them have to pitch their 2 best starters early on. Like, I mean, the Phillies, they had to pitch Nola and Wheeler their first 2 games, and they rolled out Ranger Suarez against the Braves, and he shut them out against the best offense in the league. So I don't think it's an excuse at all.
Even for that too, like the Diamondbacks, the only reason they had to or could pitch Kelly in Game 1 against the Dodgers is because they had to throw out Brandon Pfaadt in Game 1 against the Brewers. Like, we had to make sure that we could line up our guys just to even get into the playoffs.
Yep.
And so, like, that's the thing, is just like, I don't think, like, the extra week of rest, like, you can maybe, lose some momentum, whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, like, you're going to have everybody fresh, and you're going to have guys healthy. Like, that's an advantage.
Yeah.
And so while it may not always work out, a team may come in with some momentum and they may ride that momentum to a series win. I still think more times than not, you're going to want to be the team that's got the rest, they've got the home field advantage, and they want to be, coming off of a week where they could just watch and relax and get their guys ready instead of having to grind it out through a wild card series.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think it just comes down, play better. A 100-win team shouldn't be complaining about having to play an 84-win team on any amount of rest. So play better.
Yeah, it feels like people are complaining about.
All right, well, that was
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's no, you're good. I was just gonna say that's kind of all we got for the MLB playoffs. Excited for Game 2 of that Dodgers D-back series. Beat LA. That's what we're at. We're at beat LA, man.
LA.
Also excited for the Braves. Shout out Aaron Nola.
Yeah, shout out Aaron Nola. Let's see if they can come back there.
I think they will. My money's on the Braves in Game 2.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad bet at all. But All right, well, let's move on to our next segment here. Week 5, basically in the books. At the point of we're recording this, we still got the Monday night game to go, but we got some fun storylines from Week 5 to talk about. A lot went on, so basically, what's going to happen here? I'm going to list a storyline, kind of a narrative that I've seen, one that I know is popular, or I think it's kind of important or worth discussing or debating. I want to hear you guys' thoughts, your opinions. We'll talk about them. All right.
Hit me.
Cool. So first things, we got big news, but also big storyline, the Jonathan Taylor contract there. He signed a 3-year, $42 million, I think it was, contract with the Colts. So let's talk about that. Let's get you guys' thoughts.
Honestly, the more I think about this, I do think that, Joe, you said this earlier, but like I think that this is probably the perfect contract for both sides. Like I think that for a running back, 3 years, he's probably got 3 peak years left. Like just given the state of the position as a whole. And also like 42 million over 3 years. Yeah, like you're paying him like he's one of your better players, but it's not gonna like you're not getting him quarterback money or like anything insane.
Yep.
I personally still think that like that game, that Colts and I mean, who did they just play? Who did they just? I can't even remember.
Tennessee.
But yes, yeah, the Zach Moss Monster class. I think that that's just like a prime example of why I'm still in the camp of it. You just like shouldn't pay a running back, but like if you're going to, this feels like a team friendly deal because there's so many guys out there that you can just plug and play for 2 years and then go get another one in the draft in the 6th round, and he'll be like pretty much comparable. But yeah, I think that this was good for the Colts if they did want to pay him. So that's my thoughts. Beach.
I'm going to take the opposite end of the spectrum. I feel like the Colts just took Jonathan Taylor for a joyride. Like, why drag this out for the last few months to then just sign him to this deal that they could have signed him to 2 months ago and everyone would have been happy with? Like, why make him go through this, like, whole, I'm going to sit out, I want to be traded, this whole trade request thing? Like, I think this is the biggest frustration that running backs have is, like, even if they get a good contract, they have to do all these ridiculous things just to get there instead of feeling like they could be rewarded up front. So, like, while the end situation is great and they got to where the ultimate goal was, I think, for both sides, like, they had to do so much ridiculous stuff to get to that point that it's like, just avoid all that and just offer this deal in the first place. Like, don't drag this out and make this some long, drawn-out process where both sides are taking shots back and forth at one another. Like, just offer him the contract, give him a good deal for both sides that benefits each other, and then, you don't have to go through all of that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm sort of in the middle of that. I 100% understand, and I think I agree with the idea of like paying running backs is it's tough to do because the shelf life is just so short, right? But I think what the Colts did here is I think they saw Anthony Richardson. I think they saw this team and they're like, we're not bad. Anthony Richardson has flashed. He's super talented. And they're like, we have a 24-year-old running back who I think is top 3 in the NFL. And so like, let's keep him on our team for the next 3 years. Let's see what him and Richardson can cook up. We got Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. This offense looks pretty decent. They're 3-2 right now. People thought they were going to be terrible. So I think it's a really good. I do think it's a really good deal for both sides in terms of the Colts don't need to pay him past he's 27 years old. Right, the threshold is what 27, 28 for a running back to be terrible. And then they get his peak years of an elite running back. So I think it's great for them. Taylor gets paid, and if he stays healthy and he performs, he's going to get paid again. Someone's going to take the chance on a 27-year-old Jonathan Taylor for sure. So I think it's a really good contract. I'm excited to see him play again. I think he is so good.
I think that contract also aligns with Richardson's contract as well. Like, this is the time when you pay to keep your talent. Like, Richardson's on a rookie deal. He's going to be very, very cheap quarterback, and so far he's flashed like he could be, something, pretty special in the NFL. And so this is the time to pay your talent. Keep Jonathan Taylor happy, keep your receivers happy, and then see if you can build a roster, around that cheap contract and then make a run in the playoffs. I mean, that's the prototypical way to, have a lot of success in the NFL early on. And I mean, the Colts seem like they got a hit in Anthony Richardson, so now pay your guys.
Yeah. And they got Shane Steichen, man. He's the catalyst, I'm telling you. He is
I would agree.
Elite.
Yep.
All right, moving on. We got Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Man, that was brutal last night. That ended up being 42-10 or something against the Niners. People thought they were a top NFC team, which they probably still are. But what do you do? Talk to me. What are the Cowboys supposed to do here?
I know what they're supposed to do. Fire everybody. That's what I think they should do. I think that the Niners, I feel like the Niners and the Eagles are 1A and 1B, whatever order you want to make it, in the NFC. And the Cowboys used this game as a measuring stick, and they were insanely short. Dak is just not gonna get it done, but they're paying him $100 billion per year, so you can't just give up now. So I think probably what they're gonna have to do is go lose in the wild card or the divisional again, and then blow it up in the offseason. I would literally trade pretty much everybody. I think that what they've done just hasn't worked, and there's a reason that they haven't won a playoff game since dial-up internet came out or something. But yeah, I just don't see this formula working, and I don't know how many times we have to watch this movie of the Cowboys just doing the same cycle. This is the year we dumb boys beat inferior opponent and then suck against anybody that's actually good, and then do the same thing in the offseason. Dak's going to lead the league in picks again, and it's just going to be the same movie last few years. Each.
So my biggest thing is that their defense was supposed to be their calling card this year, and they've given up some points. I mean, 42 points, and I get it. Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers are loaded, but you're giving up 42 points. That's not going to win any game. I don't care who it's against, right? So I'm with Kyle. They got to blow this thing up. There's no reason that this should still be happening. And I don't know what year Dak Prescott is in the league. I know it's, I think, year 2 or 3 of Mike McCarthy, but this just doesn't look like it's going anywhere outside of just some first or second round playoff exits. They just look overmatched, overwhelmed, and I don't think Dak can get it done. I think, just like Kyle said, it's a time to blow it up. Let's reset.
Yeah, it's hard. You mentioned the defense. I think they're missing Trayvon Diggs more than the people will admit. That front 100%. seven is elite. But the defensive secondary is not good right now, and Diggs is actually good. I know there's all the memes. Diggs is a good player now, but I think it's hard because Dak's I think his dead cap next year is close to 60 million or something like that. This is going to be hard to get out of, and then you have the whole Weedham boys crew to try to appease. They're not going to tank. They can't do that. Jerry Jones is too prideful for that. So they have some interesting things to decide here soon. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think they have to do it.
They're going to get sentenced to death, which is just being mid forever. If Jerry Jones doesn't let them blow it up.
Yeah.
Perfect coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's bring back Jeff Fisher. 8-8.
Come on now. That's a Kyle bingo.
8-8, even though they can't go 8-8, but we're just going to have them go 8-9 or 9-8 every year.
They're going to go 8-1.
Good better.
Oh, that's good. Moving on, we got the New England Patriots. That offense is a disaster. They are just terrible on offense. What are they supposed to do?
Let me
They're in the running for Caleb Williams right now.
Here's what I think. Well, what they should do and what they're going to do are two very different things. Bill Belichick is not going to lose his job. He will never lose his job. He's going to be there until he decides to not be there. So they're probably going to be just below average to average until he's gone. Yeah. If I'm being honest, his formula doesn't seem like it's working anymore, and it looks like Tom Brady made Bill Belichick. Just kidding. It's not real. I hate Tom Brady. But I just don't think that they're going to do anything. If I'm them, what I think they should do is stick Mac Jones on the bench or trade him and then just be bad and then come back because you have you honestly have you
they
have a
are
good
bad
chance.
with Mac Jones. That's the thing.
I agree. I think that they should just put this season in the trash can and more or less come back. I would try it again. Imagine Caleb Williams being coached by Bill Belichick. That'd be insanity. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's what they should do. Just suck. And I think they're like honestly like 2 to 3 years out. I don't think they're as bad as they seem on paper. I just think that quarterback play is just so insane.
Yeah. It's a tough situation too, being in the AFC. Like you have two teams in your own division. It should have been three this year that
Yeah.
are solid. Two of them being very good. You have obviously the Ravens, Bengals. You have the Chiefs. You have some elite quarterback play. Great teams in that conference. They're in a rough spot for the foreseeable future, I think.
Yeah, I'm with all you guys. Nothing else to add.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
All right. Next one, we got the Ravens. Their wide receivers. I don't know if you guys saw some of those highlights. They dropped like 7 balls from Lamar.
Yeah.
They should have won like 35-3. Pittsburgh looks terrible again. Steelers fans, sorry, your team is awful. It's Mike Tomlin. Kenny Pickett is bad. Lamar did what he had to do, I think, but he's getting a lot of hate. So I need to hear, what do you guys think? Is the hate warranted? I'm a big Lamar fan. I think he's elite. Is this on him at all?
Beach.
I think part of it is just because as the quarterback, you're expected, more's expected, more, But at the same time, like there were some brutal drops yesterday. I mean, just opportunities to score, opportunities to extend drives, like that can't keep happening. I mean, it's not the quarterback's fault when he puts the ball in a catchable area and the receiver just can't catch it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things, like, is there things Lamar can possibly do more of? Sure. But at the same time, like, he's got to get some help. And this is an area that Baltimore's been struggling in for years.
Yeah.
They tried to address it with OBJ. They tried to address it with Zay Flowers, but they got to get something else in there, man. Like, Mark Andrews can't be the only reliable target for Lamar to throw to if they really want to be serious about trying to win a Super Bowl. Because Lamar is very, very good. I think he is on that level of being in, that discussion of a top 5 quarterback when he's right. But man, his receivers just constantly let him down.
Yeah, I think that anybody that's putting the blame on Lamar for this game is like they probably didn't watch the game. They probably watched it from the fantasy app. Like I think that Lamar was making great plays, and obviously we all know like 1 or 2 plays can change the entire narrative, right? Like 1 or 2 plays can change the entire outcome of a game. And there was legitimately no exaggeration, like probably 6 drop passes that could have been chunk plays or touchdowns. And like I think if 2 of those convert, we're having a completely different conversation right now. So I think that Lamar needs help. I think that they should have gone after D-Hop. I think that like where they're at right now, there really is no reliable target besides Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman sucks, unfortunately, and there's nobody else really that he can throw to. Like, so that and J.K. Dobbins being out is, I think, a big piece of why they're struggling offensively. But yeah, I'm with you, Joe. Like the Steelers suck, but any given Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. It was just a brutal watch. Seeing some of those, like being on Twitter and seeing some of our X, I'm sorry, and seeing some of those drops. I mean, there was a beautiful deep ball that Zay Flowers he would have been right in the breadbasket, and he just fell. Like, you just can't do that, man. It's Mark Andrews had some drops. Bateman, I think, dropped like 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
I've been on the Lamar train. I will continue to be on the Lamar train. It's one of those things where saying a guy needs help, it's like, well, how much help does a guy need? I'm like, it's less about he needs help. It's just his receivers need to execute because he's doing his job. So, anything else there?
They need Puka.
Did you hear LeBron named him Puka Doncic?
I've never been angrier at anything in my life. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
All right, moving on. This little sting a little bit, Beach. The Bengals are back? Question mark? What do we think?
No, period.
I,
Go ahead, Beach.
I think the biggest thing is Joe Burrow looked healthy yesterday. So while I don't think they're necessarily back in terms of like they're back to when they were in the Super Bowl against the Rams, I think Joe Burrow's healthy, and that's all they need. Like he actually looked like his former self. He was moving around yesterday. Still not fully capable of really getting out of the pocket and extending plays with his legs yet, but
Yeah.
I mean he looked as good as he's looked all season. And so I get it, the Cardinals defense isn't anything special, but he looked healthy, and that's all you can really ask for because he hadn't looked like that at all in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, to add on, I think that the Bengals offense the last 2 years has pretty much been predicated on like give Joe enough time to take a shot to either T. Higgins or Jamar Chase,
Mhm.
and it's worked for them. But now that he doesn't really have the ability to extend plays, like he's doing a lot of like 7 to 12 yard, more or less checkdowns.
Yeah.
I wasn't really convinced. Obviously, like it was sick to see him healthier, but no offense, Beach, like it's the Cardinals, like,
Yeah.
and on top of that, like I think where I'm at is like maybe because they have the Seahawks
Mhm.
next week, they have a bye week, then they have the Niners and the Bills. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna get really tough for them really quick, and so it pretty much just I think their fate lies in Joe Burrow's calf, and like it's gonna be within the next 2 weeks that we find out if it's like if they're back or if they're cooked. And I still think that like I'm still leaning more towards cooked. Can't lie.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I am fascinated to see. Burrow looked more healthy for sure. But yeah, they still sacked him several times. Like the Cardinals are able to get a lot of pressure. And I feel like they were very competitive. Midway through the third quarter, the game really turned the tide. I think the tide was turned when Jamar Chase had that like 70-yard bomb. There's again a couple plays changed the outcome of a game, but I'm not convinced yet that he's fully healthy and can really carry. But it's interesting for sure. Maybe is a good answer. Moving on. Next, Philadelphia 5-0. Are they for real?
Beach, you want to go so I can gather myself?
I think they're for real. They haven't looked great, but at the same time, 5-0 is 5-0, and that says something to me. Like it is tough to be 5-0 no matter how you look doing it. And truthfully, I still think they've got a lot of talent. I think Jalen Hurts, even though Joe calls him a system quarterback, I think he's got a ton of talent and he's got a lot of weapons that he can utilize. So they haven't looked great, but I still think they're for real, especially in the NFC. I mean, like we talked about it, it's like the 49ers and the Eagles. I mean, those are the two best teams. Outside of that, you've got the Cowboys, who we just saw get obliterated last night. I mean, the NFC is a joke. They're gonna be fine. I think they'll end up in the NFC Championship again against the 49ers.
Yep. Yeah. I'm gonna agree with Beach. I think that the Eagles are. I think that they might be my favorite to win the Super Bowl. Honestly, like that's my take now. But I just don't see a team putting it together for 4 quarters to beat them. They have too many weapons on offense now, and Jalen Hurts is a weapon like in himself. Like I know that he gets like hate for being like in the system that he's in, but like I just don't like you'd be hard pressed to find a better system for like suited for their quarterback than what the Eagles have there. And I just like it was the Rams probably played like the best football that they could have in that first half of their game, and they finished that half down 3. Like, and the Rams aren't good. Like they're probably an average to above average team if I'm looking at myself and being honest with myself, which is hard. But like yeah, I just don't see anybody beating the Eagles for 4 quarters besides maybe the Niners. So that's what I think. I think they're legit. I think Jalen Hurts is that guy, and I think he's going to do whatever it takes to win a football game.
Yeah, that's fair. I have my reservations for sure.
Joe, go off. Tell me.
Dude, I think so. I'll start with a few things. Their front seven is the best in football. That's that's their calling card on defense, right? But their secondary is not good. They can't stop what feels like anybody. Receivers, I think, are wide open. It is masked by the pressure that they're able to get. But that's once you're able to face a quarterback who can get outside the pocket well, move around, it's not going to look great. I mean, we even saw like Sam Howell is not very good, right? But he cooked through the air against them because he was able to move around. He's more mobile than your Matt Staffords, than your Baker Mayfields, Kirk Cousins, things like that. The other quarterbacks that they faced, and that makes me nervous when you face a top quarterback, or a top team, things like that. I will say I think they are the second best team in the NFC. I think in part because the NFC is just so bad, up and down, but. Yeah, I do think, to me, Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts run in the same vein, to where they are good NFL quarterbacks. They are very good. They work within a system, but you take them outside of that, and they won't win you a game, right? So I think if you're in my opinion, you can be out schemed. You can shut down a system, but you can never out superhero a superhero quarterback. In my opinion, they can beat themselves. So that's the way that I see Hurts in my issues with that offense. Is I think they can be out schemed. I think they're missing Shane Steichen. I think they're missing Jonathan Gannon overall. I have not been impressed this season by them. Last week was the best that they've looked, in my opinion, and even then I wasn't super impressed. So all that to say, they are a very good team. They will probably make the NFC Championship. I don't think they're a true Super Bowl contender, though. I think there are a few teams above them that have things that can mask their weaknesses, and I think the Eagles do not have something that can ultimately mask their weakness going against other top teams.
That's a hot take. Plus, they do have the most intense schedule of anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to roll through this right now. So next week, they play the Jets. Win or loss? W. Miami.
Cool. Tough. TBD. I don't know.
I think they win that game.
Yeah, I think
Washington.
they do too. Yeah,
Washington versus Dallas.
I think they win that game.
Okay, at Kansas City.
I think they lose.
Yeah. Versus Buffalo.
I think they lose.
Versus San Francisco.
I think they lose.
Again, then they go at Dallas, at Seattle.
I think they win both of those.
Yep.
Interesting. You see, I think they could probably lose 2 division games. Those NFC East division games get pretty gnarly. I can see them losing one to Dallas and potentially one to Washington. And if they lose 3 or 4 of those really hard games, you're looking at 11-6 at best.
Yeah.
So I think that's indicative of, again, them being a good team, but not the upper echelon Super Bowl contenders. That's how I see it.
That's fair.
So, but I guess we'll see. I will say Hurts impressed me a lot last year. I do think he's a good NFL quarterback. But he's just not. He's not in the superhero category. We got a couple more here for you though. Next, moving on, Zach Wilson. He looks good? Question mark? Talk to me. What against the Chiefs and the Broncos? One good defense, one bad defense. What are we seeing here?
Beach, go off. I just saw you roll your eyes. Go off.
He's had 2 good games, but I'm not convinced he's good. I still think he sucks. I think this is just the case of a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Like, this is just all this is. Like, he's gonna have some moments. John Skelton had some moments. Like,
okay, bingo. Oh my gosh, dude.
That's bingo for sure.
Let's just get off of this. Like, I don't think he's a good NFL quarterback. I think the Jets still suck. Yes, he's had some nice moments, but a lot of people in the NFL have had some nice moments. So I'm not sitting there to say that he's good. Yes, he's had some nice games, but we need to see a lot more body of work before I am ready to move my flagpole from the he is bad camp.
I'm with Beach. Unfortunately, I hate to agree with everybody that's calling him a trash can, but like, dude, he's just like not good. Like, his 2 best games of the year, he's thrown for like 200 yards. You know what I mean? Like, he's not good. Yeah. And it's painful because they have all the weapons around him. Like, he has really no excuse to be like bad. You know what I mean? Besides himself. I will say, like, it's been cool to hear him become like more mature in post-game interviews and like, take ownership when things go wrong.
Yeah.
But like, the reality of the Jets is that they better hope that Aaron Rodgers voodoo mushrooms that he took that he's gonna do on his Achilles that his experimental silent treatment or whatever
Yeah.
he's doing.
He's doing
Darkness
some
Retreat.
weird. He's doing some weird things with that man. He's an interesting guy.
Dude, yeah. They gotta hope to just stay afloat until he comes back, and yeah, I think they're cooked without him.
Is there the world where Zach Wilson has actually improved to the point to where he can manage a game, be effective? I think it's a foregone conclusion that he will not be a great quarterback. But is the world where he can distribute the ball well enough to where they can let Brees play well and let that defense control games to where they can squeak in to the playoffs with Zach with a 9-8, 10-7 record?
I think yes for the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Yeah, he can do that in the CFL for sure.
Yeah.
There's no way that I am saying the Jets are making the playoffs as of right now. Just not a chance.
Yeah. I think I'd agree with you guys.
You better
Yeah.
agree with us, otherwise you're getting kicked off the podcast.
No, I'd agree. I mean the Eagles are next, man. We'll see what he's made of. We'll see what he's made of. I think if he plays well again, we'll have an interesting conversation, but
No, we won't.
I don't think he's good. That's just what I'll say. Lastly, last one here. The 49ers are the overwhelming Super Bowl favorites. There is them, huge gap, a couple teams, and then everybody else. That's what people are saying.
I hate the Niners, but like it's just hard to argue. Honestly, like I just don't see a weakness that they have. Like literally, I don't see a weak. Maybe they're secondary. Like if I had a point at one area, but like Brock Purdy has proven to not be a weakness. Obviously, they have one of the better running attacks, if not the best running attacks in the game, surrounded by all of these weapons to pass to. And then their D-line and linebacker play is insane. So if I had to pick a weakness, which I still don't think is a weakness, it's their secondary. And I just hate that they're this good because I hate them so much and I want them to be bad, but they're so good. So, Beach, what do you think? NFC West?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think my one concern with them is just how is Brock Purdy going to perform when the lights are the brightest in the playoffs? I mean, obviously he played in them last year and he looked good, but then he got hurt in the NFC Championship against the Eagles. So when push comes to shove, how is he going to look? Is he going to rise and be the quarterback the 49ers need him to be when they need him to make a big time throw down the field? Or is he just going to kind of shrink back and just be more of that Jimmy G style of quarterback? That's my biggest question as of right now. But truthfully, just kind of like we talked with the Diamondbacks earlier, with the young guys going to the playoffs, like I'm not worried about it. I think he'll be just fine. And if the 49ers control everything else in a game like they usually do, they're just incredibly hard to beat. So I'm not worried about it. Yeah. I don't think they have any weaknesses. They're my clear-cut Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, this is like the best defense I have ever seen. Like it's up there with like the 2012 Ravens, like those teams that we have watched. Obviously we weren't around for the 85 Bears, but like those teams that we've been able to see, those top defenses, this is up there. Like they are insane. Their weapons are unbelievable. Trent Williams having one of the best athletes in the league on the offensive line is wild.
Yeah.
I think in terms of weaknesses, like they don't have much. Like I think one could be like overusing Christian McCaffrey, but then they just have Jordan Mason, who apparently is can work in the system. Mitchell, when he's healthy, he's a good running back. I have been a adamant Brock Purdy hater in terms of I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but ultimately he has worked that system to perfection. He's effective in it. He understands it well. I think a lot of the throws he makes aren't great throws, but ultimately it works. So I can't knock it.
I have such a good question for both of you.
It's crazy.
Does Zach Wilson succeed with the Niners? Yes or no?
Oh man,
no, absolutely not.
Beach hates Zach Wilson so much.
I think he's bad.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think Brock Purdy is 10 times better than Zach Wilson has shown to be in the NFL.
10 times is crazy, but
is it?
I'm gonna say
he has about 10 times more the wins.
That's fair. Well,
wins aren't a quarterback stat.
I don't care. I'm throwing that out there.
I'm gonna say probably not, but I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say probably not.
You guys are
My reason
way
being,
overreacting to two good
look,
Zach
Let
Wilson
me.
look,
games.
I didn't even say
look,
anything yet,
look.
Beach.
Okay,
I'm
not
gonna
you. I'm sorry.
say,
Joe
I'm
is
gonna
way
say,
overreacting.
no. I think Zach Wilson is bad, but here's my reasoning:
No, you
is because
don't. You like him.
Jimmy G succeeded in that system, and I've seen Jimmy G play outside of the system now, and he's been a good quarterback. He hasn't been great, but he's been serviceable. And Zach Wilson has not been at all serviceable. So like that's my reasoning of like I don't think that Zach Wilson can execute the Niners offense as well as Jimmy G can because he's a bad quarterback, and Purdy takes it to a different level because of the way he understands it, and I think he's willing to give his guys a shot, something Garoppolo wasn't willing to do. So Beach probably not as my answer, but I think that scheme
That's
is
one too many
insane.
probablies.
That's where I'm at.
Let me cook, Beach. No, he would not succeed to answer my own question. Like, I think that Brock Purdy is constantly like under-recognized because of his draft position. Like, I think that he's played well. Like, I
He's
think
pretty
that
good.
okay.
Shut up.
Um, yeah, he's pretty good. I do think that he's actually quite good. Like, he is pretty much statistically been on par with Patrick Mahomes this year. Like, you can't do that unless you are not bad. So,
Yeah,
what I think.
that's fair. I can't get behind it. I see him make
We'll
throws.
see.
I'm just like, I'm just not. I don't love it. But like I said, that I think that he understands the scheme and executes it to perfection, and I can't knock that at all. So
You're a hater, dude.
I am a hater, and I will be one. So I think it's something I was thinking about the other day is it'll be interesting when Purdy's up for a contract. How much the Niners are willing to pay him, if they pay him, and if he doesn't get paid, where does he go and does he succeed? I think that's what could convince me.
The New England Patriots.
That's right up his alley,
Yep.
right up Belichick's alley
That
for
sounds
sure.
about right.
All right, well, that is our NFL storylines. You fellas got anything else on that?
Go Rams.
All right. Next we got some overreactions for you guys. I have one that I know will rile some feathers. One that I do believe in, though. One that you guys got to let me explain, but I do think it's accurate. I think that the gap between Caleb Williams and Drake May is not very large. I think it's
What?
both should be in genuine consideration for the number one overall pick. I think that they are both elite NFL talents. And here's the discrepancy, all right? Caleb Williams, I think, is a better quarterback in the college sense, right? Of that both of them are superior athletes, right? They can both create things like that. Caleb Williams does more, I think, because he is somewhat of a better athlete than Drake May, and which puts him above every other college player, just because the distance between NFL talent and college talent is so wide. But when you look at the NFL, Drake May is potentially, or maybe even a stronger arm, or just as strong an arm as Caleb Williams. He can move around the pocket just as much as Caleb Williams can. He has better size, right? And he's an incredibly mobile quarterback. Right. So when you're looking at the way that the NFL sees quarterbacks and the way that the NFL quarterback succeeds, both of them will be incredibly successful and should be in the running for the number one pick.
I would like to go on record saying I wholeheartedly disagree with you. And I think
also wholeheartedly disagree.
I think that Drake May is good, but I feel like just to give him a comp to a fellow UNC alumnus, I think this is Mitch Trubisky syndrome. I think that
All right.
I think that he's a good, I would say even maybe great college quarterback, but I just don't think that like the intangibles that Caleb Williams has, like there's nobody else that I would take first overall if I am looking for a quarterback and I have number one. While I do think that Drake May is good, I just think that there's like 100 other quarterbacks that do what he does.
Interesting. See, here's how I see it, right? So I would take Williams number one. I will put that on record. I would take him. But I think like if I'm looking at the NFL, right, the quarterback comps are Caleb Williams has a Patrick Mahomes comp, and Drake May has a Justin Herbert comp. That's what everybody does. Take those two. So
that's why you like him.
No, listen. Listen. Everybody knows you're going to take Patrick Mahomes over Justin Herbert. But realistically, in the NFL, is the gap between those two as large as as every casual would think? No.
Well, it's at least 2 Super Bowls large.
Okay, whatever. It's not that. They are both extremely talented quarterbacks that anybody would be happy to start a franchise with. And that's what I see is like Caleb Williams, you're going to take him, but the gap is not very large. And if you're starting a team, you're like, Patrick Mahomes is one, but I think you have to glance towards Herbert's way. And I think it's the same thing with May and Williams.
Who?
Okay. Khalil Herbert?
Yeah, did you say George Herbert?
No, Justin.
You did not say Justin.
Whatever, dude.
All right.
Run it back.
Right. Beach, do you have one, or can I get mine off?
You can get yours off.
All right. Here is mine. I think that right now in the AFC, it's Chiefs, Bills, and then FC Jacksonville. I think that they are
Okay.
Listen. I think that they, on paper, have one of the better rosters in the AFC. And on top of that, I just think that they, with good quarterback play and with their defense, like they could be in any game. So I think that they're my sleeper pick to make an AFC championship. That's my hot take. FC Jacksonville, London's finest.
Wow.
I think that's an overreaction to the game for sure, but I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I don't think you're right, but I don't think you're wrong either.
Who would take that third slot in your guys' opinion? If
because
I think the Bengals are out. Like I think
Bengals are out.
It would be the Bengals, but I just don't think it's them anymore.
I still think it can be the Bengals.
Yeah, I think it's less of like a third slot, more of like a tiered system to me, where it's just like you got this jumbled amount of teams that are like they could make a run, they have the talent, but so could the other team next to them.
Fair. Well, I'm picking Jacksonville. That's who I think it is. I think they're at least going
to FC Jacksonville. That's their new name, FC Jacksonville.
There we go. Beach.
So my overreaction, we're going to go back to college football, and I can't believe I'm saying this because this came at the expense of ASU, who I absolutely hate.
Beach, what are you going to do right now?
I am so tired of Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders and the stuff that is just being thrown down our throats by the national media. I am sick of it. I don't know if you guys saw the video of Sanders, of Shedeur Sanders going to the ASU student section and flashing his watch after they just beat ASU. But it's just like, dude, you played a 1-5 ASU team that is horrible. They lost their quarterback. They're down to, I think, Trenton Bourguet, who is going to be their third string quarterback going into the year. Like, this team is bad. Everyone knows they're bad. And yet, you barely escape with the win. You win by 3 points, and you're acting like you just won the national title. And I know that sounds like an old guy get off my lawn type of take.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Yep, 100%.
But here's the thing. I get it if you win like a big game against, whoever. Like, just you beat 1-5 ASU. That's not impressive. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not. Like, if you would have done that against TCU week 1, fine. He does that against Nebraska, who's an old-time Big 12 rival, fine. Dude, it's ASU. They're 1-5. They're irrelevant. Like, you need to start acting like you've been there before because you're going to start playing teams that are better than you and are going to beat you. Like, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. We saw what Oregon did to them, and we saw how they treated them because they were so fed up of all the trash talk and all the crap that was coming their way, and they played like it. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm just tired of it. Colorado is acting like a way better team than they actually are, and they're not very good. They're a good team, but they're not a great team like everyone's making them out to be.
Spoken like a true defensive lineman coach right there.
Yes.
Act like you've been there before. Come on, Beach.
Oh, man.
I honestly thought that you would love that because he was making the ASU student section look at him. But I'm kind of with you. I don't feel as strongly as you do, but I do think that they're overrated. But I just don't think that it's their fault. So
yeah,
I'm with you though.
I think my biggest gripe just comes from the media just constantly pushing them. It's like if Deion Sanders wasn't there, this Colorado team would not be talked about, even if they had all the same players. Like the only reason people are talking about Colorado is because he's there. right?
Yeah.
And so that's just the biggest frustration is the national media is just ignoring other good college football stories. They're ignoring way better teams.
Like Arizona.
Just because it's Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
And I get it. Deion Sanders is a big name and he drives a lot of attention, but I don't know. I'm just kind of over it.
I think that's fair. I thought it was fun, but that's like being removed from the situation a little bit. But I totally agree. I understand where you're coming from.
I say let the kids play.
If you went out there and they won by 40, do it. Like if you go out there and you play a great game and you dominate, all fine by me.
Yeah.
But you won because you guys made a last-second field goal. Like, it's not that impressive. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are some good ones, fellas. We got some takes, overreactions for sure. I love those. We're almost done here, but before we close up, I have some crazy stats for you guys.
I also
think
have
things
a
that are
crazy
going to
stat.
be. Oh, okay, let's hear yours first.
Oh, no.
So yesterday, the Suns played in a preseason game. First time with the
Okay,
victory.
bingo.
Beach sat down and watched a preseason game and was so excited to do it.
On a Sunday, there was NFL football on.
No shame either.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, the Phoenix Suns scored 46 points in the first quarter, playing largely the lineup they're going to play this year. And they went 17 of 20 from the field. They went 4 of 5 from 3 and 4 of 5 from the free throw line. Kevin Durant had 10 points, Devin Booker had 9, and Bradley Beal had 7. If that's how they're going to look during the season, this podcast is going to be derailed a ton because that was incredible to watch. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh gosh.
All right, that's for sure bingo. I love 100%. To see it. I'm just gonna roll through these because these are fun. The Texas Rangers outscored the Dallas Cowboys this week.
Woo!
More 11 runs to 10 points. That's hilarious. That's wild. Carlos Correa of the Twins is now third all time in MLB RBI with 64 in the playoffs. Moving ahead of playoff legends Derek Jeter and David Ortiz. Third all time. That's wild. Just shows how long the Astros have been good. And this next one is crazy to me. Devon Achane is now second in the NFL with 460 rushing yards. He's got like 50 fewer carries than the guys around him. He's on pace for 1,564 yards and 17 touchdowns on 129 attempts. That's 12.1 per carry right now.
Gross.
Right? That's insane. It just makes me think that Tavon Austin was in the league too early.
Bingo. I agree.
And I can't wait to show my children Tavon Austin highlights one day.
Best highlight reel of all time.
That is awesome.
It's not true. It's not even close.
Nope, it's not. But that is an insane stat to me. That Achane, he would not do this with any other team. He went to the only team that could possibly use him in this way. It's wild.
It's insane.
But, all right, fellas, you guys got anything else?
The Rams are going to win their next 7 games. Beach.
Oh.
Beat LA. Big game 2 tonight.
Beat LA indeed.
Beat LA. All right, well, that's going to be it for today, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. For more from myself, from Beach, from Kyle, find us on socials. That's Bingo Pod. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.
Love you. Bye.